Okay, we are ready. We're back from break. It is 1:04 p.m. And we left off with the detention facility sales tax and that up.
Yes, Robin's gonna share her screen to bring that
I
up.
have to be able to get in to share my screen, which means I have to be in a Zoom link. So maybe I wasn't quite
Ready?
as ready as I thought I was.
Okay, can we move on to item 22 then while that's being pulled up? Sure.
So line 22 is for the coroner for increased autopsy and extra help budget. They're requesting $420,000 in general fund with the anticipated 202 in revenue for autopsy
The
reimbursed by the state.
The 202 is with the idea that we would be certified
That is true.
and approve the other position, correct?
That is correct. Right, so it's with the approval of the new forensic pathologist and if we're
Chief
accredited.
deputy.
Chief deputy.
Which we said no to.
Yeah.
We said, yeah, you guys said no too.
So that revenue is not really.
That is correct. That revenue is not the full amount.
Yeah, but not enough to make it matter.
So they're saying that with, I believe with the not getting the deputy, they would not be accredited. And so this revenue will not be full. And it would not be able to offset the entire cost here to the
Was
general
this
fund.
on our list?
This was on your list as a must-do. And this is before we heard from the coroner and the amount of revenue that is anticipated not to come into the county if he was not accredited. But it is built in our must-dos. And it has been factored into the model that we saw in the beginning of the budget deliberations.
I'm sorry, what?
The coroner's increased autopsy cost, $420,000.
What about that?
It was built in our must-dos.
It was part of the must-dos, because we have higher death rates.
Right.
I mean, we can't, since the coroner has not filled the position that the board approved, we have to continue to pay for autopsies on a contract. And it's not like he can't do them.
And we said we weren't gonna do the chief deputy's position. We've already said that. So that.
Well, I think we put that on a,
Short list.
short list of things to come back
Oh,
to.
to review? Maybe I was the one who said
Revisit,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
It says we have the $50,000 budget that we previously approved that's been depleted. So my note to myself on the first take was to fund this partially. Because 50 to 420 is
We've been giving them
a full increase.
annually one-time costs to fund their program. So this is kind of making that permanent instead of them having to come back every.
If the position is filled, I mean, this is, if the position isn't filled, so if the position is filled, for me, right, if the pathologist is filled, then at that point, they won't need such a huge, an additional 420,000 in autopsy costs, because
That is the thought, when the coroner came to you and asked for the position, the impression that I had is that if he were able to fill the position, he would not have the ongoing autopsy costs. They would offset. And it would essentially be a wash for the county. So the board funded the position. We're still paying for autopsies. And at his presentation, the information that, in my perception, is new is that even if he were able to fill the position, we would still need to contract out for some autopsies. So this ongoing autopsy cost would not completely go away. But, you know, how much would be left? I don't know. I mean, it's almost to a point where he's not been able to fill the position. He doesn't anticipate being able to fill the position anytime soon. Why don't we just pay for the autopsies that he's contracting? Because we're not getting the offset. You're paying, we're paying, either way,
The position?
yes. It has not, we've had it 2 years, you approved it I wanna say 2 years ago? Was it 2 years or only 1 year ago?
It was 2 years ago, I believe. It was in the biennium of 22,
Yeah.
23.
So, I mean, apparently, he said he's working with a,
Recruiter.
yeah, recruiter. He's working with a recruiter now. But we've seen no progress. You could do what we've been doing, not increase his budget, and he'll come at the midterm and need more money. That's an option.
I think we're doing way too many autopsies myself, but
Did we agree to increase the salary for the autopsy?
I didn't think so.
I thought we had agreed that we would increase the salary because the salary,
making it more desirable.
yeah.
We did increase it once. I mean, I think he was still saying it wasn't.
He's still saying it's not
Be to
enough.
get somebody, but it was increased once at least.
I think during that discussion, Rob was saying that that position is the highest paid position over at Kitsap County.
It's been authorized to be the highest paid position in Thurston County as well,
Right,
so.
so. We just don't have-
There's just a very, very, very few folks that have chosen to go into that discipline. And so it's highly competitive.
Yep. So we're funding the position because we don't have unfunded positions, and we're fully funding autopsies that are contracted out.
I can't,
I plan on, I don't see how we can support this. We don't have the money. That's my problem. If we don't have the money, what are we gonna do?
Concerning the position, I think one of the conversations or topics was seeing if the pathologist could work outside of the county to try and be an incentive some way to have that position filled. And so I did reach out to HR to find out if that's possible, if the position is filled here, could that person still contract for work outside with other jurisdictions to be able to do that? And from HR, I believe the direction is that there might be someone already in the coroner's office who does some sort of work like that. And they have to make sure that they're not on the clock when they're doing that to be able to do that. So there might be a presence already in the coroner's office for that type of work, if that helps with the position, not necessarily this request.
Has HR worked with the coroner on something like that?
I think they may have a position already in there that's doing
Well, like,
something like that.
For
but-
the pathologist specifically?
No, but we could have them connect with the coroner to try and help.
I just, knowing that he's not working with a recruiter, knowing that there's that possibility, right? I'm going to say like partial to this. And if the position is not yet filled by the budget amendment, I want it to come back up for us to have this conversation again. But I want, if he's actively recruiting right now and there's different variables up still in the air, I still want to give him that opportunity to be able to do what he needs to do in order to fill it. And then if not, if it doesn't work out and I don't know. But I do agree that we can't have a position as well as this and that it's just too much.
It's not working at the moment. If the coroner were able to fill that position and we were able to bring down the cost of the contracted autopsies, which was the whole intent of creating the position, then I think we, I totally get that the number of autopsies is steadily increasing. The coroner has said that he does the minimum required by law at this point in time. I don't think there's any that he could refuse that he's not refusing. So, and the county's got to fund the cost of doing them, but the position was the saving grace. So how much of this would you agree to at this time?
I would agree to something for extra help, that's it. And I don't know what that would be, but it's not divided out.
Extra help, it's not divided out. Extra help is not gonna resolve the autopsy cost.
No, I'm saying walk away from some of those autopsies. I know you think he's doing what he has to do. I'm doing it from a perspective of law enforcement. We did homicide cases, one right after the other, without a lot of this technical information. We just went with what we saw on the ground, DRT, dead right there, and dealt with it. That's just the way it was. So we don't have the money. I'd love to give him money, but I don't see that we've got any money. But I'd give him some extra help money. I don't know what that might mean, 30,000 or something. But I'm a no on this.
So the
Sorry.
biggest part of this request is the autopsies. And then another part of this request that we haven't discussed this afternoon is the increase in payments for indigent services. The cremations, we've not raised that payment rate in years. And the coroner, I didn't hear him outright say that he's having trouble having the
Crematoriums do it.
provide that services, but there seemed to be an indication that things were heading that way because we don't pay enough for those. So perhaps we put 200,000 in here, cut it in half, and let the coroner figure out how he wants to apportion it.
Well, now that's appealing to me, because that's what I've been wanting to do the whole time on everything, is just give them the money and let them figure it out.
The
So,
bulk of it's for autopsies.
200,000, I'm okay with that.
375,000 of it is.
I'm not okay with it, but it's like, it is what it is. So thumbs up.
All right, so let's cut it in half.
So 200,000, 2 thumbs up.
My number would be lower.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
What would your number be?
would you do it for 100,000?
Yeah, I was thinking 1 or 150.
150? Okay.
Okay, I'll go with you,
150.
150 then, just to see if we can get something.
And if we do that, the revenue would also decrease by about down from 202 to
We'd have to
a
work
third
that out.
of that, roughly, would you say about 75?
if it's corresponding, but I'm not quite sure. Has to do with their autopsies, right? How many they're gonna do, so.
There'd be more like 85 or something,
Well,
80.
we don't wanna overstate the revenue. 75 is probably a little high if he decides to do other things with that 150. Okay.
Okay, 50 you're saying, right? How much in revenue did you say?
70,
70, okay. Are we ready to go to detention sales tax, or should I move on?
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I will shrink this and share my screen.
So we're going back to lines 20 and 21.
Make sure that's the right plan. Yep. So I have balanced the plan by shifting the cost of the camera project, not eliminating the camera project, to be clear, but having the cost of the camera project be in
Building reserve.
building reserves. And then this 500,000 and million is cut in half. And the fund is tight but sustainable.
Okay, explain that to me. You're saying that this is now gonna be
So-
500,000
Right.
instead of 250?
And I'll just why, no. No. Why is my computer doing that? I'm sorry, my computer is deciding to do something very strange. So, you may recall that there had been a camera program in here. It was 800,000.
You need to enable the content, Robin.
Do what?
Enable the content.
No, that's not gonna fix it. Let's see. Yes. Nah, my computer's doing something strange. So, can you tell me how much the camera project had been?
2 million? You mean in each year?
Yeah.
In 23, it was 30,000.
Yep.
24, 370,
370?
yes, and then 800,000 in 25 and 26.
25 and 26?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a $2 million project.
It's
So-
what again?
2 million. Spread over these.
I thought it was a one-time fix to, I did not know it was ongoing.
It's not ongoing. The project's gonna take a few years. So this is the detention sales tax plan that we had on the table. And I am saying that we can fix that and reduce the shift to the general fund by moving the cost of the camera system to building reserves, so that eliminates that. And then we can take this shift to the general fund down by half and have a fund that is tight but sustainable.
This is not a one-time shift. I see.
It's an ongoing shift to the general fund. That's correct.
At 250?
The camera
500.
comes out, 250 in the first year, 500 in the second year, and then 500 in future years
To the general fund.
to the general fund.
And
How about REIT? Okay, no.
I like REIT.
Well, I mean,
We're having problems in REIT too, though.
This is
Go ahead,
not,
You're
Commissioner.
putting $2 million into the building reserve? A $2 million camera project?
I'm putting a $2 million project into building reserves. Yes, I am.
And that's doable.
I have been told that there is sufficient money in building reserves specifically for the new jail, that we can cover the costs of the camera system like that, yes.
And when you say ongoing, but it goes away after 25, doesn't it?
The camera system project goes away. We still need to bring costs down in the detention sales tax fund because of the
Flatness of revenue?
revenue, yes.
We shifted a lot of costs in the last few years.
We have shifted a lot in, now we need to take a little back out. Yeah. See, because here's the revenue assumptions, just like with regular sales tax. This year, it's only growing at about 2%, a little over 2%. And future years, we did 2%, then 3, 4, and then back up to our average 5.
But I'm wondering with the reversions, right? A lot of the things that we shifted in there were actual positions, wasn't it?
They are positions,
And
yes.
so, but we're seeing, I mean, we've heard it, right? And both the jail and juvenile jail, the vacancies, right? And so I'm just wondering, like, the reversion rate, it's not enough to kind of,
We really don't do reversion into this fund. We use the detention sales tax money before we spend the general fund
spend the general
money.
fund money.
It's to preserve the general fund.
And now it's coming to cash out.
So this was on my must-do list. We could cut it in half, following the plan to shift the cost of the camera system. Now, you were curious about the cost of the camera system. We have quite a few people in the audience at this point who can speak to the cost of the camera system.
I'd like to hear more about why.
Yeah, we were closely questioning that when the number on the screen was 800. We were not seeing that it's another 800 in 2026.
Now that's
We were only
news
seeing,
to me.
yeah, that's news to me too. So the question is now doubly acute.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Rick Thomas to come to the table and Sherry, because it's a system, part of this is a system solution. And can you please speak to the cost of this system?
Yeah, absolutely. Rick Thomas, the manager of our Capital Projects Program Group, and here to talk about the camera system at the jail. Just really quickly on the background, the cameras are about 15 years old, the whole camera system. It's the camera system is set up to be able to be an integral part of the security system that's tied into the intercom system. It's tied into the door systems for the cells and all the entry and exit points out.
When you say tied in, do you mean hardwired?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. And the technology has changed dramatically over the years. The system that we presently have in there is an analog system that has coax cable connecting up different pieces of equipment. It has a front end PLC, a programmable logic controller. It's really kind of like the computer front end. And all of that technology is not supported anymore by the manufacturers. It's just too old. And so we're having significant issues. Whenever we have a camera issue, it's almost impossible to find cameras that are compatible with the existing system that we have there. If we have issues with any of the programming, we do not have, again, support from the original manufacturer because they don't have any versions of those anymore. So we don't have no way to update it. And I would say the main scenario is right now, we've been able to kind of piecemeal things together. But if we do have a significant failure, which could happen really at any time, our software systems as well as some of our hardware systems could crash. And we literally would have no way to repair them. They're just, the parts and pieces are not there. The software programming, there's no way to again, get those updated. So in general, these systems typically last about 7 to 8 years, and we're on 15 years right now. Sherry, I know that you have some probably insight in regards to compatibility with our IT systems and.
It certainly doesn't meet our standards anymore as far as IT standards and security wise. And when something does fail, it takes us a lot of effort to get it working again.
When these cameras that you're proposing now, when they are put online, are they hardwired or are they, talking through the wall?
No, they're going to be rewired with Cat6 cabling, so
They are gonna be hardwired.
yes.
And that takes, what do you have to, just run it along the roof, or you have to bore holes, or what is all that gonna take? You just pull the other out, and while you're pulling it out, you pull the new stuff through?
That's correct. In addition to this, to upgrade everything, we need to really go from an analog system to a digital system. So again, all the cameras need to be replaced. It's the equipment costs are the big driver for this. Not that the labor's not significant, but it really is the equipment. And we're,
What is the state doing? Do you know what they're the kind of the experts in detention facilities, I believe.
well, I can't speak to the state, but I can tell you when I worked for the federal government, I did several projects with the US Marshal Service that had holding cells, and the systems we're talking about here are very, very similar to those.
And you say systems, I mean, is it, we give you $2 million and you buy this system, or are there options? Are there a variety of vendors? Is it an RFP? Is there only one?
No, there's-
One company in the whole world that does what you need?
No, there's a variety of companies that do these. We have we have estimates from our designer right now, who have been working with 2 different vendors so that when we do go out and bid this, it'll be competitively bid. And I will say with one of the estimates, the lower of the estimates from one of the vendors brings us literally just about exactly to the $2 million mark. The other system is, I would say some people might say it's slightly higher quality, although both are very much used throughout the industry for this kind of work, and it's about $300,000 more.
What's the life of these new systems? You said the others are like 7 or 8 expected, which we're on 15. So what's the life of the new systems?
They're, again, these are IT-driven systems, and so they, that still is the arena. They're 7 to 8 years.
We have,
So,
I mean, when we were asked to do, and I know there's been inflation and whatnot, but
Yeah.
when we were considering a fixed unit, $19 million option, a $28 million option, I think a $40 million option. So when you think of, $20 million for an entire unit, and then we think of $2 million for cameras, it's just hard for my head to get around.
well, maybe this will help a little bit in perspective. We're talking about over 100 cameras. We're talking about, I think it's 5 workstations that have touchscreens in order to be able to control the systems that we have. The system also ties into the Sally port that's in Building 3 right now, so that when they're transporting inmates, the systems are all tied together.
Have these systems, would this have cost half this amount like a couple of years ago? Or has this been kind of what these things have costed all the way through
Well,
pandemic and
there's,
stuff?
inflation has been very high in the last 3 years and has significantly impacted the supplies and materials. There's no way that I would sit here and tell you that it's double, for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 25 to 30% increase in the last 3 years.
We can look up and see, because this is not a new project. We've had this on the CIP. We can look up and see how much has been in the CIP for the last few years.
So we can pay it out of building reserves.
It is.
Can we see the building reserves?
Sure.
I can try and find that plan, yes, give me one moment.
Interaction with corrections, union. Do you know of anything there regarding this whole thing from a safety perspective? Like that?
Cameras?
Yeah. The cameras are a safety issue, so
They are, I don't know if this is part of the union. I would think that, the union would, and this is just my opinion, I would think that the union would strongly support a reliable camera system for the jail. I mean, why would you not?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how to do it with no money.
I think it can be done, a stable, reliable
And
system. It
why
can't be
is it-
tampered with by the inmates.
And it just is not comparable to these simpler ring systems, and I don't know anything about those either, other than I do know that I hear that they work, because I hear from people quite often. I know folks that have them, but is it too many and they're not, you can't tie them together, or what?
Right, that, the key thing is the cameras have to be, the system has to tie together through a complete system, and the rings are not able to do. They have to tie back to actual control that will allow the calm system to work. This is also tied into the door releases on the actual cells. I mean, it's the whole security system.
System is on this, so the doors are electronic.
Correct.
An officer can't call on the radio and beat you or whatever. That doesn't work anymore.
Well, I don't know the operations of that. I just my time in the federal government. You have the control center. Yeah, we room has the screens so that if the intercom is pushed to a certain cell, it will automatically move to that cell, and before the door is actually released, whoever is monitoring it can make sure there's no issues going on at that point.
The fund balance, please.
I'd like to hear from the corrections officers that are on the work of this thing. I don't know. Good to
Work
be.
corrections on the design of this project. We didn't put our project manager worked very closely with the corrections to ensure that the we deliver is going to meet their needs.
I believe that Chief Davis is here.
He is, if you'd like to speak to him.
Heck, yeah, I'd like to have him up here telling us what the real need is here.
So I think the question is more, not so much the risk, because I would say that the board understands the risk of not having cameras in the jail.
I know, but
It's really more about the cost.
Looking
Yeah,
at the
it is about the
financial
cost.
plan, and then I'll pass it over to Chief Davis. But just looking, is the 1.8, is it this?
No, I'm sorry, this one's always confusing, so that's just, the revenue anticipated to come in.
Sorry.
So
I
I'm
need to
going,
get rid of that line.
yeah, this is the ending fund balance, so this is your
So-
expenses and this is your ending.
Is that already estimated with the 1.8?
No,
Oh.
we would add, it would be 30,000 this year,
This year.
300 and some thousand next year,
And
and
then
800,000 in each of the two following years. And Nicole, if you very quickly type that in, if you're in Excel,
Yep,
just pick a line. I think you'd need to do it more in the expense part of the,
I was
so
just
it's
gonna add it
picked
to
up
the
into
ending.
the ongoing.
Oh, sorry, how many days last year, this year has cameras not worked or failed us? I mean, maybe you don't, no.
I wouldn't have a specific time, but it has went down a lot.
Okay,
And
so
like,
it's like,
if not daily, it goes down, and then officers are having to reset a system, kind of like what Rick discussed. We have to reset a system to get it back up. While we're waiting for that, a lot of things could potentially go wrong. And that's not, and then again, it's a safety and security issue, so that's not being safe.
does that put you down for like a few hours or days?
Sometimes
or-
it could be an hour, sometimes it could be minutes. Sometimes we have to reach out to our facilities, hey, we need to get the system up, so we have to jump to a different system or a different portion of the cameras to operate the base station, operation station, to even deal with the rest of the other doors and stuff of that nature. And if we use we just have a radio to call, hey, open B12, how do we know that's not an inmate that took our radio, being compromised? So we just can't have that. So right now we have, you walk to the door, push it, the camera comes, sees who's at the door, who's leaving, who's coming, things of that nature. So it's not just call it, we can't be, we are moving forward and not backwards, hopefully.
I know that WASAC is doing the jail survey request for the state. If in this, I would like to include this camera system project and let them know the expense for this. And,
Absolutely.
you know, the Association of Counties last year was requesting assistance from the state just because of how the support that jails need across the state, and Chief Davis said, moving forward, and a lot of them are out of date and need improvements, and some places need new jails. And so this survey is meant to kind of give the legislator a picture of the struggles that counties are facing. So I know that Leah is working with our both juvenile jail and Chief Davis on the survey to kind of send in our estimates. But I think this counts as part of one of our estimates, this camera system. It's not cheap, and
Commissioner, we have also put together a one-page information document that we have shared with Strategies 360. And they are also gonna be helping us to try to see if there's any opportunities out there.
I do have I don't know, maybe it's a Robin question, but this came as a surprise to me, two different $800,000 expenditures. I don't know where that came from. It's almost like the Forest Service guy that we needed to hire for, $100,000. I don't recall talking about that one time. I don't remember talking about this one time either, so I'm curious why.
I'm with you, Commissioner.
So I am looking up the CIP for this year. And there is an item for the Thurston County Correction Facility camera upgrade. It was planned to be paid out of detention sales tax. It's in the capital facility plan that the board approved for this year, which means that you reviewed that plan in 2022 when you would have seen this project on the list, as well as this summer, the same plan for the same $2 million. It's been on the CIP. It is not new and the cost amount is not new.
And why was this, why wasn't the idea to put this in the building reserve to begin with? Why was it originally for detention sales tax?
Originally, we looked for sources. The building reserve is structured in a way to collect money to be able to pay for projects when we need to. And usually it's things like roof and HVAC and flooring and various things that one needs in any given facility. We had not planned to cover cameras, so we had not been collecting into the reserve for cameras, which is why we looked for another way to pay for them. But there is money there in the reserve that can be used for this purpose at this time,
In the building reserve.
in building reserves. We can use it for this. We've already repaired the roof, and there's still money in this fund. I don't think we're gonna need to do the HVAC anytime soon. One of the things in the facilities plan that you just approved on an AIS recently, the contract with Brightly to help us do a facilities plan is a facility assessment, because I can tell you that the building reserve collection is not enough for every facility. So part of the plan that we're developing, the long-range view, is how much do we really need to be collecting to maintain the buildings that we own. So we're working on that, but right now there's money in the fund that could offset the impact that I had proposed shifting out of DST into general fund.
So we can keep this away from, we can protect the general fund and move forward.
Yes, and keep working on this project that is essential for the operation of the jail.
I don't see how we can afford not to do it myself, because it's a safety issue. I mean, we don't have the money in the general fund, but if we've got it here.
So you said the bids that came, Rick, were close to the 2 million.
Yes.
So this 1.6, will this be enough, is I'm wondering.
So we have 2 million here, there's 30,000 this year, 397,000.
370 next year.
True.
So it's 30 and 23, 370 and 24,
370.
and then 800,000 in 25 and in 26.
So that makes up the 2 million. And that allows for the cost of the contract, the purchase of the equipment and the installation.
So you're
And
gonna
the
get
project
20 years
management.
out of a 8-year system, basically.
Well, we have 15 now,
Hot dig.
and that's Band-Aiding it.
I have a question in regards to, there wasn't, when this system was put into place, it wasn't placed on, there wasn't a plan to replace this. And what's going to be the plan now in an effort? Like, where is this going to be coming out from?
So we either need to build it into the building reserve or one of the IT system reserves. But we absolutely do need to build in a replacement plan.
Well, yeah, I would like to kind of see that ongoing expense too, because I don't want to be, or not me, I'm not going to be here, but but I, you know, in the future, it's, as this comes on, right, I think it's good to have already this laid out, so we're not putting future.
I agree. So just either way, but let's say for a moment that we collected into building reserves. And let's say that we're gonna make this system last 10 years and given cost escalations, let's say that the next system 10 years from now is gonna cost $3 million. That would be 300,000 a year that we would need to put into building reserves to be able to save up enough money to replace it.
Okay. I mean, I just,
Right, and we're not proposing that you put that replacement plan into place this year.
Catch up over time.
That's right, you would
Make it last
start
another
that
15
at the
years.
time the new system's in place. About 3 years from now. Thank you very much for being here.
welcome.
Thank you, Rick, and congratulations.
You were just waiting.
Yes, Rick's grandchild is.
congratulations, Rick.
Almost today, we're hoping.
So exciting. Okay, and so then going back, so I guess it's thumbs up, commissioners,
I don't see an alternative.
This is
for
line,
the camera system.
For 250,000 in 24 and 500,000 in.
And this, oh, so we're going back
You're
to,
asking about this detention, yeah, I need to know what we're talking about.
Yes, detention sales tax, we're asking that you shift the funding from detention sales tax to the general fund, so it's an increase to the general fund of $250,000 in 24, 500,000 in 25. And this is a reduction from the original proposal.
again, I don't see how we have a choice.
Are we gonna have, are we being held up from getting going on this project? Cause I think this is an emergency, ought to be out of
oh
the,
no, they've already gotten bids. This
Okay.
project is underway. And I mean, if you're gonna stop it right now.
no,
but
I don't, we don't see an
We've
alternative.
been moving down the road. This has been on your CIP and
know.
we've been working on it.
Okay,
So,
I mean,
are we counting thumbs?
so
Or
we're
did
talking
we
about
already count thumbs?
yeah, I think for the camera system, it's a go.
Right.
And this is in regards to the detention sales tax, and it's the reduction of 250,000 in 24 and 525 and ongoing. That's correct.
which we don't have a choice unless we cut expenses out of DST.
Yeah.
There's no proposal on the table to do that. Probably correction staff.
Right,
I
it
don't know
would be
what all's
correction
in
staff.
there,
Right, and you really can't reduce jail staff. They're at minimum staffing.
Well,
If they can
they're,
fill
they're
the
at minimum
positions.
with 30 fewer than they need.
They need to fill all their positions, but it's not like we could cut those.
Are we ready to vote? Or is there still more discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. 3 thumbs up. Thank you. So Sherry's with us and she was here to speak with about some of the IT requests within the budget. And since she's here, we want to still keep going. See if we can ask her to join us again. Okay.
I'm gonna share my screen just to show you that with the last few decisions that you've made, which are some pretty significant ones on the must-do list, this is where we're at.
Even if we cut $4 million that we haven't cut yet.
This is with only a $3 million cut. And this, one of the things you could do, that we've not done yet is increase the road diversion by another $1 million. So instead of 1 million increase, you
Shift
would
or diversion?
shift, the levy shift, thank you. It's the levy shift.
Beyond what we already agreed to do?
Another million on top of that would make this graph look like this.
How about if we do the 2 million from the rainy day fund? That is still my proposal.
2 million.
Understanding that it's one-time funding, but I would just wanna see.
It doesn't really help much because it's one-time funding. And you wouldn't have it there when it really starts to rain.
Boy, it's raining out right now.
That's where we're at. I am gonna swatch.
Sherry's gonna speak to some of the IT requests. She has some notes here, and if you need to know where they are in their packet, we'll figure out where that is, and I'll let you know. But she's gonna speak to IT-related requests.
In certain order.
Go ahead.
Saw the graph, Sherry.
I know. All right, so we have the request to remove the end date for 2 FTEs that are currently supporting the implementation of the ERP. They have an end date. One is a senior management analyst in the budget office, and one is an IT consultant too that has been supporting the implementation of Oracle. And we've already extended that end date a couple times, but ongoing support of Oracle is probably going to require more than just 1 or 2 people. So we're requesting to remove those end dates. In addition, the senior management analyst will be able to support, it will be embedded in central services. Are you guys called
In the
central?
Commissioner's office.
Commissioner's office, okay. It'll be embedded and will help manage the new Legistar system, the back end, not the usability, just the back end of it, as well as Balancing Act. What are the other ones? OpenGov.
And Sherry said the Oracle.
Yeah, a number of systems that the commissioner's office has that currently Jennifer supports in her free time.
Didn't we ask her whether this was more important than the new budget analyst that we approved?
And her answer was,
She wanted both.
oh,
And I said, she's not getting that. I mean, I feel like we've had, I feel like at least a dozen times I've been asked to fund something to support the ERP, and it's like so scattershot. Like how many employees have we approved that are supporting this system that I don't really even understand what all does?
So what I know about it, what I know that you've approved is in financial services, there was a system manager position. It used to be a business applications administrator person, and they reallocated that to a systems manager person. And the reason for that reallocation is that Munis is a pretty single-threaded system. And so when that position was filled before, a business applications analyst could do it. But now Oracle is many-threaded, right? We've got 5 or 6 modules and things are working together. And now it's software as a service. So we don't get to choose when we upgrade it. We don't get to choose when it goes down for maintenance. Now we are at the mercy of the vendor to do this. So switching that position from a business application administrator to a systems manager made good sense. And then the only other position that I know of, at least related to IT, is this position and the senior management analyst position. So I don't know about.
so the financial services reclass is the only other ongoing position that the board has approved. You've been asked for, and I continue to recommend that you say no to additional financial staff because of the perception that it's going to take more time to do their jobs in Oracle than it does in Munis. We have no idea And what I've said is that there is always a learning curve to any new system. At first, it is gonna take more time, but in the long run, by implementing a new system, it should actually take less time, and we need to see how that actually plays out. So you should not be, and you have not yet, approved any ongoing financial positions. You have approved backfilling temporary positions to backfill the work that staff are doing to bring to bring Oracle online. And you need, at this point, we are requesting that you extend the end dates on those positions, not remove the end dates, because Oracle's not up yet. But there's one backfill, one or two
There's-
backfill in financial services
There's one in
and one
financial
in
services,
HR.
one in HR, and one in public works.
and one in public works, so there are three. But those all have end dates and will end when Oracle is up and running. So those are all the different positions that are, you keep hearing about around the ERP.
What are the end dates for these positions?
December.
December
Right
of
now,
this
they're
year.
December 31, but we're requesting that you extend them through, right now, we were asking through June 30, but it probably,
Well, the
yeah.
positions,
We're asking.
These we're asking to
Yeah.
remove the end
these
dates
are asking
from.
to remove.
Yes, these particular ones, the two, we're asking to remove the end dates for the ongoing work that will continue in IT and in the commissioner's office.
Can we ask for it to be until December?
We have it in through December, I'm actually,
Like December of next year.
we have them in through December of 2024 right now for the extension. For the end date extension,
For the backfill ones?
yes.
So, yeah, okay, but now we're talking about these two positions that we're asking for the removal.
What are they?
3806. So these two positions, right, so currently they'll be charged to, they won't be general fund immediately. What is it, after, in 2026, eventually they will, but that'll be at a 60-40 split, built on the rates. So that'll be outside of the biennium, the impact to the general fund.
Because we're,
Because they would be built on the rates, and so we won't see that, the rates update and hit until 2026, am I right on that?
Is that because of the lag business?
They'd be part of the project costs through the end of next year. In 2026, they'd become part of the regular department costs and be built into the rates for 26, 4, 5, 6.
Right, so they will not impact the general fund in the
So-
biennium.
so something like that, is the model sophisticated enough to put in and capture that nuance that,
No,
yeah, so I mean,
no, it's not.
it's hard to really even know what it's doing.
You'd have to manually put it in the outer year. It wouldn't even be in your two golden columns on your model. The impact would be in the lines that are slashed in the out years.
Right.
That's where the amount would be hitting. Okay,
But I don't see if the end date's now, and so how could there be money in the project? I mean, if we're adding FTEs for a couple of years. That's not,
Because we've not spent all of the project funds.
there's additional money in what we've already
That
allocated.
so we had not,
Thought everything was going up and we're having to renegotiate the whole contract and we're gonna spend a whole bunch
that's
more
why
money.
you added $1 million. That's the line item where you added $1 million for the project is the change order, which we are hoping to get much less than that. Sherry's working on that.
We have a meeting tomorrow at 12:30. Hopefully with a better,
If you were to IT absolutely needs the ongoing support because they will be required to do back-end work, extensive back-end work, testing, ensuring that whatever changes don't break the custom work that we've had done on this system.
So if we
The
grant,
IT position is absolutely necessary. If the budget team has to choose between one, either this one or the new analyst, we would choose the new analyst. And I'm looking at Nicole,
Yes, if we
and
had to
asking,
choose.
would that be your choice?
Yes, if we had to choose.
well, I'm going back to Commissioner Edwards' reasoning where it's like, we grant these positions, but then we're gonna have to be asking people to cut their budgets by 10%. And are we accomplishing anything? Because you're just gonna have to shed the positions that you don't have because we're creating a hole that has to be filled.
Let me clarify something that Commissioner Bencher said. And when we do ask them to cut X, whatever it's gonna be, are we asking them to cut that amount from the amount that we have just approved or from their
2023 base.
2023 base? What are we asking them to?
It depends. And I'm sorry to put it that way. This one, the impact to the general fund won't come until 2026. So if you're out if you should approve this position and you ask for budget cuts this year, this position wouldn't even be contributing to the problem yet. If you are looking at budget cuts 2 years from now, then we might choose to cut this particular position rather than a different one.
How about if we quit right now and tell everybody
These
they gotta have a 4%
positions,
cut, figure it
the-
out?
One is filled.
One is filled
Starting to look
and
better.
one just became vacant,
A week,
2
weeks ago.
Again, going back, why can't we just extend it till December 2024? And then at that time, we see
Where we're at.
where we're at, and then at that, we
Commissioner
can make
McGee.
a decision.
That is perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
Because then there will be no direct impact to the general
We've
fund.
already allocated the money for
Yeah.
it for that amount of time, according to what you're saying. So,
So is that for both positions? Extended end dates for both positions?
might as well. So we get
That's
another
what Sherry
year,
needs, right?
get another year of work out of it.
Okay. Yep, we have another one. Thank you.
We're happy with that.
Okay, and just for fun, we're also asking for another network FTE. I brought this picture, you can't see it, but if you came up into our section now, you'd see we have this network operations center up on the wall now in our, if you guys swing by and before you go downstairs, yeah. And it shows that there are 31 county sites that have network stuff. And
You have responsibility
that we
over-
have responsibility for. And that's grown quite a bit over the last several years. We've gone from, in the last 5 years, from 1,008 employees to 1,365 county employees. And we have a lot of new technology that now requires 24/7 coverage. We have a network team of 4 people. And that is way, way below the recommended number of network staff supporting an organization this complicated and of this size. So right now, the impact is whenever one of our network staff goes on vacation or has leave, we have to call them. We call them in Las Vegas and everywhere they are because we don't have the staff to support all of the equipment and whatnot that we have.
Could this be strictly a 64 cut, for the dollar amount?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
could it be 50/50 because maybe there's a balanced number of non-current users or?
So, the 60/40 is rough estimate in any given thing, application or activity has its own split. So maybe
That might be closer to
IT
50-50.
applications might be 50/50
45,
and maybe facilities is really 40/60, not 60/40. And so it all averages out to 60/40, 60/60. And it's a way for us to talk about it.
The thing is, if it happens, and that ratio that Sherry's talking about, then we end up down something, hacked something,
That's
something,
why she needs
where the
another
loss
position.
is way more tremendous than funding it at 50. I was gonna say 50/50. Makes me feel better.
Well, in exchange, we have been able to find, so far about $70,000 that we can save year over year by diverting some of our maintenance, and we purchased extra equipment so that we could pay maintenance on equipment. Anyway, we're working hard to find ways to save money that it can help cover the cost of this.
So Sherry, would you be comfortable with us reducing your rate in those areas we add FTE
And so
to try to offset?
I've already saved $50,000 on the Nets, which is $8,000 on Cisco. I mean, we're adding $12,000 on net now, $75,000 getting super close to being able to cover the cost of ITC too.
The general down to almost nothing.
Yeah, I don't suppose we keep saying yes to something.
I mean, this be covered. Families like the residences in a way getting county.
It is. Yeah. Sure is. Well, I'm afraid of.
Yeah, they would just, the risk pool bills out someone, so if we bill it to the risk pool, then they'll just bill us
Back.
the revolving door. What other items do we have, Nicole, that are IT related that we need to share?
Axon and digital.
So back on Justice Premier, listened to your discussions about that, and could we call them and find out if we know the sheriff's office is going to try to start using Access or any way they can work with us? And they have given me a couple of options. So they gave me two quotes. One is a 5-year quote and one is a 10-year quote. The 5-year quote would cost us $127,000 a year. They gave us a 5% discount over the cost that Jose originally got. And then they split the cost up so that the next 2 years we have the least amount of on this one, it would be basically $128,000 a year. I think it's $189 in the original quote. And then the 10-year quote they gave us would be $115,000 a year for the 2 years. It's $189,000 the original quote was.
I give a story like cloud storage and all that.
It does all the cloud storage. Now, the team has been working with them to use the GTAC solution, and I heard loud and clear prosecutors say that it wasn't good enough, that the one issue outstanding is the retention and how long do we save videos. And in the IT world, we say a video is a video, and it needs to be saved for 10 years because of prosecutors records retention, then we just save it for 10 years. And I think there is some frustration because it's a sheriff system, GTAC is, and I'm not sure what the serious concern is about retention. And then the other thing we're talking about is the automated, you know, faces, some of the functionality that's available in Axon that we have not seen yet in GTAC. It needs about 90% of the same functionality as Axon. All I know.
Savings, you said if it's a 5-year,
So he said that the guy, the representative I spoke to said if we signed a contract, they bill it out so that I think 13.5% of the entire contract, 20% a year. That's how they typically do a 5-year contract. They charge you 2% each year. So instead, they could charge us, it's almost 7% in years 1 and 2, and the remaining years is when you make up the difference. So it would help.
would the amount be like 24?
127, 924, 64. And then if we sign a 10-year contract, it would be lower, $527.
So 130 for 5 years, 20 for 10.
Yes.
The original is at 353 first year.
Kind of go.
Is that,
I wasn't involved in collecting that information for the original. We didn't get involved until after I presented to you guys the first time, and that's when we found out about it. And
The sheriff gave it to you, is that it?
it was public defense that kind of kicked off this effort to try and solve their problem with this.
Nicole or Jennifer, which packet is that?
Axon is in the policy law commissioner brain
It's in the brainstorm.
on page. I thought we had said with public safety tax,
Yeah,
since it was the there's priority. And I mean, the conversation was for the, because he was like, if we don't do the Axon, then the 2 positions, right? It's either or, and we're like, well, we have to do the system. Right. And the way to do it, and
you would support
he
it,
would support it with,
the taxes, I know it's,
right.
but. Let's see. But let's see. 2 FTs more to deal with GTAC public defenses will not save any money.
right.
So that's our only option is public safety tax
That is the
or general fund.
option at this time. We've not collected money into the large system reserve for this particular item, and there's no money in the large system reserve that we're not already dedicating to one of the large systems that we're replacing. I can't think of another fund that would legitimately pay for this because the prosecutor and public defense are largely general fund departments.
I thought we had something that was like that there, but I just can't remember.
There's a lot riding on Tuesday.
And then, the assessor, spoke about the mobile assessor.
Yes.
Remember that? I've had
So, the assessor's office came to us with this, mobile assessor solution, which will save money. You guys like to hear that part? Will save eventually. What they need to do is implement it now and replace, their expensive laptops, tablets with, iPads. There is a technical reason we can't sell those live, but that should be late spring. Where is it?
It would be the assessor, but they did not submit a request, so they requested for, FTE, and I'll verify that one. But instead of the FTE, they're saying they were to get this package, they withdraw the request, and I'll verify who that was for the assessor. I spoke to him, and, he mentioned this was his desire to go this route, and we should speak to the IT. So he won't see that this would be an ad.
We're gonna add the FTE, then something for, I mean, what the cost difference is.
Well, it was, and currently they spend, a lot of money per tablet. So, $3,500 per tablet. And, 21 next year, the tablet, when it comes to replace them, probably be closer to $4,600 per tablet. A heavy laptop that they take out to the field and bring around. So instead of replacing those, they'll be able to use iPads. We don't necessarily support iPad in IT, but we just implemented a mobile device management solution that we can register the iPads in. We would be able to remotely wipe them, take care of them that way, but iPads wouldn't fix. They would, if they put a tough book around it, they drop, break it, we can't fix it, have to replace it. So that's kind of down to using iPads to do your work. It breaks, it breaks. But it will at $800 per iPad, would save money. Oh, $199 for the iPad. So at a $4,600 the tablet.
That we could reduce the assessor's budget.
Yeah. I think that's why it's them is to be able to do things by doing this. Now, the solution itself cost me
Talk about how they have three.
some of the employees in the assessor's office, you have a laptop, desk, and one of these tablets. And that can get very expensive. We're able to down to one desktop, one iPad to do their mobile work. They save a lot of money that way by returning some of the equipment, for sure.
So much into replacement costs for now, different, so that we in the long run, possibly their end cost.
We have a written proposal on.
No, we don't, and the something we want later, after the budget cycle had closed, proposal. So they looked to it while they were here, but we did not open the system up to put in a package.
They want 46 tablets, is that the,
16.
$1,000, $16,000?
4,600, right?
Yeah. iPads. And each would cost them $16,000. We collected replacement rate. We cover the fees. It won't cost any money at all. And we've actually collected a lot more than that because we're going to replace $600 tablets. Or, yeah.
What's the problem with this? What's the issue?
There.
Why do we even have to authorize
So
this?
we're,
It's just substitute one kind of technology for the, for another.
So there was concern about how much was in reserves and that to utilize the system, you have to wait until we have individual parcels. So something in the spring you're
Yeah, part of the project, we're creating a layer in the GIS system that will give us, we need a unique parcel ID in order to use this.
So is there any upfront cost we have to cover in the budget?
No, I think that I will talk about it, explain the FTE. No, no. Because we've collected
would-
money.
And there would not need to be FTE.
right. They would FTE, they want.
So if the board will approve this, then the Hill process.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up, so we have. But this is something we're interested in doing. Moving forward.
Won't be able to do it until July, though. That's the one caveat. Late spring. Late spring. That was pretty good. I'm not gonna say that out loud. It's looking pretty good, though. We're making progress on that. Okay.
All right, so when we go back, we'll come back to the assessor's position, we can say no.
So, yes. I was not sure if it'd be like a proposal with the fund.
No, but like there doesn't even need to be an approval for the funding, it's all
Perfect.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what else on the IT list that the board?
I just wanted to, one more I wanted to follow up on. That is public defense. So yesterday, public defense had asked for a business application. That's correct. That was because they had a reduction package to offset it. We have since talked to Patrick and he would withdraw that request. And he's only asking for the admin assistant, I believe it is, that you approved.
Administrative,
Supervisor.
services manager.
Thank you. So that
That's a
request,
done
he's no longer asking for it. So the reduction for $256,000, the admin manager specialist, correct?
It's about 140,000.
$40,000. So the difference is $116,000 that he's going to use towards his reduction. That $7 million that we asked all of the departments to come up with, we're calling it an 8% cut.
But now we're getting that down to
Right. So what we're saying is
0.99%.
I thought you said we were down to half.
our model going
Don't
forward.
ask right now.
So what I just wanted to make notice that that request that you approved, business applicant, technician, business application technician, is removing that one from the table.
Yeah, I talked to him and we have a service level agreement, which will allow us to help them in some of the areas that they were having with, so they don't have to fill another position.
Use the drawing B2402.
Yes. All right. That's all of the text that we were bring to your attention.
Questions on anything else? All right, I'm out of here. I certainly will.
We've asked, even to join us at 3. Do we want to keep going? Till he's back. All right, so then we're on page 9 of the policy level packet.
We were on page 8,
Page 8?
number 23.
Yes, we are, thank you. So this is for assistant 2, for the coroner. He says that he has 2 half-time positions at, positions. He's looking to move to a full-time position, and the cost would be $5,000 to the general fund.
This is semi-technical because one of the positions is filled with a person, a full-time person, so then he has to make it half-time. So there's a
so he wants to combine it. But because the vacant position has
Mid-range.
the mid-range, additional just the salary to the level of the person who's in it. So it's
So this is only gonna have
Less than
$5,000
$5,000.
impact?
Yes.
It's one of those ones, right?
That comes up. Okay. Page 9, this is for HR, for the insurance risk fund. So this is to move up the authority to be able to pay out claims and take care of the activities of the risk fund. The rate was already established. This is just to give the correct authority to be able to pay out claims.
This is all figured in already, isn't it?
Yes, the was done with the rates. No changes to that impacts the general fund. Okay, I vote 3 thumbs up, thank you. The next is the climate mitigation plan. It's asking for $60,000 in the second year. And so we spoke about this one. This is expanding on the mitigation plan. I remember going into deep detail about this one. I'm not sure if this is in the commissioner.
So
I'm not sure if this is the carry forward or the new
right,
amount.
this is from Rebecca.
Right,
And she has proposed that at some point in 2025, she will run out of the funding that has been earmarked for climate implementation of the climate plan, and is asking for this additional $60,000 to continue work in the climate plan.
that's right.
Why can't that come out of foundational public health? It's all about the wellness of our community.
So we did check on that.
Yes, and unfortunately, the answer is not at this time. No, it cannot.
Yeah, but who made that determination? We get another opinion.
I believe that the state has made that determination.
Really?
Yes.
If we assigned a little more environmental issues along with it, or I just can't do it on general fund principles again, that's all.
I have a question in regards to the lease that we just, or the update that Rebecca gave us of the solar panels that are going to be at the Wark. And you mentioned like, that would go into tipping fees. I asked for an opinion whether those funds could be used for, instead of tipping fees, since it could be used for projects like that had a relation to climate, and I'm wondering if we've gotten an opinion on that.
Is that one of the ones that you sent to
This
the
is first I've
attorneys?
heard this. I could look into it.
Yeah, and this was at the presentation, I asked that question specifically on like,
Right.
with the funding that is coming in from that project, can it be directed towards something like this?
Is there enough funding coming in?
I don't know how much revenue we're going to get
They
in
must have
leasing
given
that
estimate.
land. Every time we've looked into leasing county property for solar panel installation, the project had been that we would lease the real estate for nothing, basically, $1 a year, something like that. This one, I don't know what the lease revenue is going to be. I think it's going to be well over $1 a year, but I don't know how much.
That doesn't
She's
affect
still working on that.
this.
So we'll look into that, Commissioner Mejia. The reason that I said it would need to go back to tipping fees is because of the land, the property that we were using is specifically the landfill. So I don't know if by leasing it for a climate-related purpose, that we could use whatever revenue we got to continue the climate program.
So Rebecca's salary was budgeted separately from the climate implementation fund, correct?
From this plan, that is correct.
So you're saying that above and beyond her salary, we've spent we'll have spent $300,000 by 2025 on climate implementation?
Yes.
Yes.
And can I get a breakdown of where that money went?
Yes.
I know we've spent about 50 to 60,000 on the regional agreement.
I can follow up with
That
Rebecca.
doesn't
get
equal
that.
300, so I'd like to know where the rest went.
She's planning to carry it forward into 24 and
Mhm.
spend it, so I can also get you the details on
Okay,
the
yeah,
plan
maybe,
for
maybe it's a bunch
24.
of stuff for 24
Right,
that would get
Yeah.
there.
yes.
And then, yeah, okay, well, that would potentially make sense.
Right. And then I would also say that she is,
Because we haven't to date spent that much money.
oh no, we
Yeah.
haven't, but she's got plans on
Yeah,
how
yeah,
to
okay.
spend it.
All right,
One
well,
of the upcoming ideas that she's bringing forward is a energy audit program, home energy audits.
That's a regional initiative from the climate.
Yes,
group.
exactly, that we would join with King and Pierce counties. But that costs money, as it all does, so we can certainly get you a breakdown. She did a very thoughtful analysis of how much she's going to spend. And then I was also about to say that Rebecca has been quite diligent in chasing grant money. She's applied for at least 3 grants that I'm aware of. So it very well could be that she's gonna generate the revenue we need to do those projects. She's also working with Strategies 360.
I guess what I would say to this, obviously I strongly support the work, the funding piece. I mean, this money that we've been drawing from was a one-time allocation. So
Yes.
this, even if we gave the 59, we'd still be facing, well, what are we gonna do in 2026 to implement climate work? So
That's right.
even if we don't grant this because we just can't, we don't have the general fund, we don't have any other options, it means, it doesn't really, we're not removing an ongoing commitment to climate work. That, we're saying $60,000 less will get done in 2025 maybe.
Right.
That's all we're saying.
Right.
Because we'd be looking at how to fund it going forward in 2026 anyway.
Right.
So I guess I'm laying the groundwork for me maybe having to say no to this, but it shouldn't be misconstrued as sort of a retreat from our commitment to this work.
Right, and as grant money is found, you will be
Yeah.
adding that in as we go. She is diligent about,
I mean, this is 2 years away, right? This is
That's
this is
right.
the last 60,000 from 2025. We're just kind of speculating about what we would be doing in the last quarter or two of 2020, 2 years from now.
that's correct.
And so I may have to say no to this if we can't find another source.
Yeah, I think this is a future conversation that we need to have as a board. If we're gonna be making a long-term commitment of, we set aside that one-time funding, but is there gonna be a different plan that we're going to be, kind of pushing ahead through, so.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is we've already funded basically a year and a half's worth of work in
Yeah.
the next biennium through Rebecca and the implementation fund.
Yeah.
So I guess that's an M, but a probable no.
I have a maybe and follow up on the lease.
Okay.
Well, again, I think the lease issue too can be like, serve for the future, right? As, I'm just wondering if, wondering on that opinion on whether, I know that it's kind of restricted on, and it was based on the land, but I was like, seeing that we're doing this, is there a possibility that we can find a little loophole here and, allocate it to other climate projects?
You got it.
Okay. All right, so next page, page 10, line 26 and
What was the disposition of line 25? Do I have
it was the follow up.
3 thumbs down?
Conversation for the future, I think.
Right, right, and if we can find revenue, then we'll bring it back.
All right, so line 26 and 27, this is for the road levy shift. Gonna say we should pass this over until we get to looking at the model again. So then line 28. It looks like land use and permitting through CPED, they're asking for $1,300 for professional development increases. To help with professional development for their staff. Out of land use and permitting for $1,300.
Out of land use
Does
and
it fit?
permitting.
Yeah,
Does it fit?
so they could charge it to land use and permitting for $1,300, but it would be a non-recoverable expense, I would imagine. Robin? For professional development, it would be considered non-recoverable,
For $1,300.
but it's only $1,300, yeah. For staff development.
It would be worth checking or following up on this one, just because if it is training related to the staffing who specifically are working on the land use and permitting, would seem like development could be an eligible cost, but
That's what I would say too. You know, there's gonna have to be a certain amount of administration that we can charge to the land use permit fees. It's not only the time that you're touching one. So I think it is billable.
Okay, if it's billable and it's non-general fund, it's only $1,300.
If it's billable, I guess.
It's billable. Okay.
It's
Or
less
yes.
$1,400.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're asking for such small amounts,
That's,
but,
yeah, I mean, I support their training, but I just don't understand why we would see an amount like that.
well, that's, I'm so with you. It's minutia.
line 29 is for $8,500 for reference books for supplies for the land use and permitting fund. This is for them to update to be code reliant to getting the IRC codes.
This is absolutely billable to the permit
Yeah.
fees. So,
No
What is
general
this
fund
on the-
impact.
Is it community planning or CPED?
CPED.
Supplies increase? Yes, I'm a yes on that.
Okay. You ready for a vote?
Commissioner Arnold?
3 thumbs up. Okay, line 30. So this is our conversation about non-recoverables versus recoverables based on the study that CPED went through. Consultant determined that $1.4 million about in the land use and permitting fund is non-recoverable. So CPED is requesting that for 24 and 25 and ongoing, that 1.4 in general fund be budgeted for transfer into land use and permitting.
Oh, the next 2 pages are part of this.
Yes, and then line, well,
Where's
that's
the-
2 different conversations, but
Where's
yes,
the 1.7?
that's the next
the very
page.
next one.
Where is it on the cheat sheet?
I may have messed that up when I was putting it together because of the revenue line and the expenditure line for the 1.7 zeroed each other out.
You netted it.
I netted it instead of showing the full impact to the general fund, but the 1.7 is the one-time piece.
Yes, and that's on the next page, on page 12.
That's the one where so isn't, I mean, we can sit here and wring our hands about this, but we've talked about this a million times. So isn't the plan to go ahead and approve the 1.4 because the study showed that's the real true cost? But then the debate is whether we want to do another 1.7 or something less, because they'd asked for 6 months reserve and we think we can
Yes.
make.
Yes.
3. Okay, let's just
Yeah.
get to that because I'm really tired of this issue.
And then, in the meantime, I'll try and pull up that financial
Nothing's gonna
plan.
change. It is what it is.
And is this figured into your graph that you've been
So
popping
I'm
up on
about
the
to
screen?
bring the graph up now.
And that's some per
Yeah,
must
that's,
do.
then that's gonna make me weak, I think. when you punch
Yeah,
this
I
one
think
in.
it will.
That's what I'm worried about.
But no, it was already in the must-dos,
It
wasn't
was
it?
built in the must-dos.
It was built into the must-dos. So I had set must-dos at about $3 million, and we're already above that.
Are we really?
Uh-huh. And I'm.
Well, we need to go through that must-dos list again.
Saving money on this one.
Yes.
We're saving.
Sneaky money.
So when you say yes to the 1.4, I had been booking a $3 million reduction. I'll increase that to 4 million. That brings us back to this. So this model has 2 million coming in from ARPA, an additional 1 million in the road levy shift. The things that you've said yes to so far in general fund, including the 1.4 million for CPED and a $4 million cut. So
Let's do another $1 million shift from,
if we look at an additional million in road shift, it'll look like this and you've got a little more capacity.
and 3 million or 4
This
million?
is a $4 million cut. Because we've got to address the ending fund balance in the land use fund. 1.7's too much, but how much is enough?
So this doesn't include any of the 1.7?
Correct. This includes the ongoing 1.4 that they need. This does not include the one-time 1.7.
So whatever we agree to is gonna further
It-
erode
it's-
that, and that's assuming,
Correct,
that's assuming we've made a $4 million cut that we haven't made.
that you have not contemplated yet, correct. And increase the road levy shift by $2 million
Instead of
instead
one.
of one.
Towards the end, I want to review the must-do items that we've approved and how we're over
Absolutely.
$3 million. I mean,
Because you've approved more than the must-dos.
and I think we need to go back and look at those, and
Yep.
we might have to be making hard decisions on.
What could we do? Could we do, and I, not that I want to do it, but we could easily shift $10 million. It'd be legal. It's there, the capacity's there.
I'd have
I'm not saying, it's good- I'm not saying that's where I'm going, but I'm just saying it's there.
You might be able to shift that much. I don't think that you'd reach the caps. We'd have to ensure that there was no impact on the junior taxing districts, but I think we're so far below our cap that there wouldn't be. And then the question is, you know, how much money is really sitting in the road fund? I think the road levy is down to 19 million.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so, you know, could do that once.
Well, I'm not saying do it.
No.
I'm just, but we're kind of stuck on 2. Well, it doesn't mean we couldn't do 4 and survive, you know, but.
However, whatever number that ends up landing at, we'll end up needing to go back and sort of recap crafting the whole program, looking forward in terms of our capital facilities plan to make sure that what we're not going to be able to do in the near term.
I don't know if you've heard my argument, Rob, on that, but
No.
the price of oil today versus what it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, we could have done twice as much lane work, whatever that entails, regrinding, resurfacing, you know, whatever it is, than
Yeah.
what we would get with that same dollar today. So I'm saying, let's not buy a Rolls Royce today, let's just get by with a Chevrolet. And in a couple of years, that price is gonna come down, or we're all gonna be in ashes anyway, so.
I don't think the county has ever been in a capacity to buy a Rolls Royce. I think we have a Chevy now and we're gonna be
Gonna
going
get
down to a bike. is
scooter.
basically a
Gonna
scooter.
get a bicycle.
Well, an e-bike is better than a Yugo.
It just does delay, it postpones what needs to be done until we can get a better bang for our buck. That's why I'm hanging around there.
I have the land use fund plan if we wanna look at that.
I do, I would like to look at that. And is the one that you're gonna bring up the one where they assumed both the 1.4 and the 1.7? So,
And the fuel cell solution.
So that's,
You wanna take a break?
that's,
I need
Okay, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
yeah.
2 hours.
3:03, we are back from break and we had left off with number, I lost it, 31.
So we were talking about CPED, and I'm gonna share my screen, if that's okay? Okay. This is the financial plan for land use and permitting fund. This is the 1.4 that's ongoing for non-recoverables. This $1.7 million here is what we're discussing in line 31. And so, Rob, I'm gonna let you take it away.
That's what gets you to the 6-month ending fund balance. We would at this time, given the state of the budget, like to propose a 3-month ending fund balance.
This drops that to 1.2.
It drops the 1.7 to,
1.3.
I'm sorry,
Oh, what this would drop it down, so 3-month ending fund balance would be $1.3 million. So if I reduce the 1.7, say to
500.
550.
550, that gets us to 1.38, and the 3-month fund balance is 312.
And even given conservative estimates in revenue growth, that's a sustainable 3-month fund balance, given fees at their current levels, no increase in fees, and fully paying the non-fee chargeable portion. So if you do that in the graph now, I'm gonna share.
Oh, it's 550 instead of 1.7.
Here's the graph. And if I add the 550,000, it's a one-time amount, there's very little change to the graph.
I'm in support of the 550.
So I've got two Commissioner,
With, how much shift?
550,000
Instead of the
One time.
1.7.
plus the ongoing 1.4.
What about the road? What about the road shift?
Oh, how much is the road shift in this model? It's at the $2 million level. And a
$2 million
$4
more.
million cut.
2 more than what we were already planning.
2 more than what we're doing today. So the total road levy shift will be to 4,250,000 plus 1.5 million in diversion. That's a significant amount coming out of the road fund. And I will also say that Jennifer and her staff worked very hard to do a plan on how they could manage the road program with an increase of $2 million. So we think that while this is not a good thing and you will not be doing all the things we need to on unincorporated roads, that we could make this work.
But how much more must do you have to add on there?
I
still
haven't
got
been,
a
you
fair
know,
amount.
I think that we've hit all the big
Because
things.
we're well over the 3 or whatever it was that,
Yeah, we're over the 3 because you haven't only been adding must-dos. But we've got my must-dos kind of whittled down.
I'm gonna look, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
don't have
another
my
1.5 million
must-do
or
list in front of me.
Taking a little bit of time.
So far, you've added policy level adds of 4.4 million in '24, and revenue goes with that of 2 million. So you've added a 2.4 million impact to the general fund.
So the list of must-dos, I have it here if you want me to share what we had before, or I can speak to them.
Well, just let us look at it real quick. It wasn't that long.
I gotta stop sharing so she
You
can.
can see if there's anything that we haven't addressed already.
So this was the list of must-dos. It was the 2 positions,
You said no to that.
the food,
You
We
said no,
partial,
you said yes to a portion of that, 300,000, I think.
that's what you said. I still think it could be a little lower, but
I think I
that's what
put
we
in
agreed.
300.
Yes.
the shift to 50, we said, in the first year, and
No, that's down
500.
to
We've got that cut in half.
This was decreased to 200,000.
150, I think.
Cut that in half, or yeah, 150,
150,
so
yeah.
significantly less.
You said no to
We're coming back to those.
okay, and then this is what we're discussing right now.
That is now, the 1.4 plus 550, so instead of 3.1 in the first year, it's 2.2, I think.
Yeah, so,
And then 1.4 in the out years.
We haven't done 13 and 14.
No, I don't think we've gotten that far yet.
so yeah, we said we would come back for the Lake Management District. We had a follow-up question about that, and we
Yeah.
haven't done the emergency services.
So you've done the big things on my must-do list.
But we've added other things, and I think that's,
Uh-huh.
we'll just need to see it tomorrow once we're through with this. Okay.
Okay.
So do we want to take a pause here and pass it to public health? I think that's great. Okay.
Thank you.
Because we're not done yet.
Thank you. Do we have this to share? Can we start talking about it? And all the other aspects, too? So, David, the Director of Public Health, is here to help speak to the request for the Public Health and Social Services. He has a number of things to discuss. He has worked graciously, him and his staff, to come up with some more way of showing the request that he has presented before you. He has an updated org chart, so we can share that as well. And so, David, I'll just pass it over to you, and if you want to start going through some of your change requests and speaking to the direction of the department.
Yeah, I was actually gonna start with asking if there were specific things from the board that you were looking for from last time, but I'm happy to kind of go through a quick run through of our kind of key requests there.
Do we need a run through? I mean, we went through this.
I don't know if we
before.
need a run
Yeah,
through.
we don't need.
Let's get
We don't
into,
really need,
let's get into
Whatever
what,
commissioners wanted to ask David, let's do that. I
yeah,
don't,
let's do it.
I don't have, for me, it was just seeing the list of, like, I just didn't know where it would fit, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But you've kind of broken it down here, sorry, go ahead.
Did you, have any general fund above and beyond that we haven't, that's our above and beyond our base budget? Any general fund issues?
Oh, like general fund requests that I
Yep.
was making?
Yep.
I think that I had one for public health that we switched over to financial public health, which was the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Besides anything we transferred over, are you hitting general fund at all?
I think there's a request in there for the Healthy Lakes as part of that conversation with the LMD's work. That's still on our request technically. So that would be the one
I don't know
item
what that's
that's,
gonna be and where it might come from.
so anyway, that's the only request I still have in my
That
budget.
wasn't that
That's-
600,000 thing or
It's
something.
the 400 maybe?
I'm sorry, I was not following. What is
He
it?
was asking if I had any general funds requests, and I was saying the only one that I was aware that that's still in our budget was for the Healthy Lake study. It was a Public Works original request that came over to our side.
That's
I
right,
shifted
that's
to
in
public.
there, and then you had also requested for the clerk of the
Yep.
Board of Health out of general fund.
We've
but-
adjusted and have a version of this where we use FPHS for that position instead. So
Good.
the only general funds request we have would be that.
it's Healthy Lakes, we haven't even discussed that.
I can't really speak to the details.
Yeah,
of that.
that's the only thing I haven't heard anything about, so I'm not too worried about that
Okay, then let's
myself.
just go
But,
through.
my other thing is, what's the total ask? What's your
Back to the
total
FTE.
ask? What are you
Through the
asking
public
out
health
of, and it's gonna be out of non-general fund, but what's the total?
Let's see, I can pull that really quick.
Commissioner Mejia, didn't you want to see the FTE by group?
Yeah, this is.
And you had some questions about it.
And
So my question was like, just seeing like the different epidemiology, education and outreach specialists, those were the ones where I was just like,
Because you see, there's like a million
What
of
does-
them.
yeah,
and they
what
don't
does it
really
mean?
clarify.
That during your original, but
Yeah.
we were sort of
but it's a
forgetting.
generic net title or something.
I was like, I remember saying like, I remember David explained it, and I couldn't spit back
And
what
we-
your
and
explanation
if you-
was
So
as
he
to why all
has
those
it.
people are
And we
called
can go through it
education
really
and
quick if
outreach.
you want to, I don't mind.
no, he has it here. It's already laid out in this sheet.
What's that dollar amount?
I think that we were looking at.
Oh, I see the title versus.
And
the
maybe
class.
somebody else knows the dollar amount.
So this
All
is
of
what I
his
needed.
requests,
Yeah, what's his dollar amount?
I'll pull that up.
Yeah, I think so.
Here, we're gonna have it here in just a second.
It's just a-
Yeah,
So we were trying to do a couple of things, which was either pull up this sheet that Dave has provided so that you guys can go through the
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
FTE, or to
But I'm
look
just-
at the financial
but
plans
I'm
because
just
these
wondering
line up
about-
with that.
I
The org
wondered
charts.
what the total request is. I thought maybe you'd just be able to say,
Yeah,
It's,
it's a little messy.
it's $7,227.25.
It takes just a little
no pennies
bit
in
of
budget,
time.
no pennies.
We just needed this reference with the job titles,
That makes
so
sense. Okay,
this helped a lot.
okay, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I just gotta look up, it's not an easy pull the way the reports are separated, so I gotta pull up the lines and give you that total request just for each
Okay, well then
department.
let me word it a little different.
Okay,
Do you have revenue to cover everything you're asking for?
Yeah, we do. We don't need any
And-
additional general.
If we give you everything you're asking for, you're not gonna send any money back to the state.
No, with the caveat, and I think Commissioner Mejia brought this up, the caveat will be about timing. So because of the timing of when we want to hire folks, some of the FPHS funding will be cutting it close on when we actually hire the positions.
Sure, but I
So-
mean, you might not get a position hired or something. You
Correct.
just don't know.
That is the only thing I'm concerned, I think.
Okay, well then, I think I ought to go home.
You're stuck with us.
One of the-
So,
I-
so the next question though, is there are a number of items that the board would like to build to foundational public health, and can you make capacity for those?
Yeah, that was what I assumed the question was gonna ultimately be about, would be outside of my
that's
request, yeah.
where we're going.
So I guess I have questions for the board, which is sort of, if you can tell me what it is you're looking to do, it'll help me sort of know if it fits within what we're trying to do.
Or is
We
it
have a,
in HR?
so with those, with HR, can you guys tell me what it is that you're looking to do with that? Is that a temporary
Well, for you,
The assistance and support that your staff requires every time, every time there's a request for HR, right? Just having an allocated person that way, especially with all these positions being requested, the impact on HR is gonna be greatly,
You might be one of the biggest users of HR services, given the new positions and the recruitment efforts. So if we gave HR one of the positions they said they needed, and we could
Bill
show
and
that
Dee.
there's enough public health related work,
got it.
can we then fund it through there so that we give HR a little bit of help, but meet your needs?
That one's tricky. When I look at sort of what I have remaining in terms of funding to go towards things, we do have the funding for that DEI coordinator swap. It's a pretty straightforward one. I want to talk with you about that, but in terms of the funding, we have the funding. I think there was a conversation about supporting the fiscal staff. And there's a line of funding in our PHS budget that relates to fiscal capacity that I think, again, we've worked the details out, but we can make it work. With the HR one, it's a little messier because there's not an easy bucket for that to fit in, if that makes sense. So then we're pulling into, this is way above my pay grade, Robin, but then we're pulling into conversations about how to fund that part. I will say it makes sense about sort of extra support from the HR know that HR positions. I think I think with our request we're making and the hires we've made over the past year, I feel pretty confident that we can take on most of the hard work that goes into the process of getting someone on board. But of course, there's an impact to HR no matter what. So I want to acknowledge that. But on our end, I think with the positions that we've hired this year and then the positions that we're looking for, we're asking for an office assistant, for example, and this, I feel like we sort of take on most of this work where HR isn't having to do that work for this. That's kind of our sense.
I would respectfully say that the amount of work in your department, especially given the number of new FTEs that the board's contemplating here, could justify a position in HR that's dedicated solely to public health, and perhaps you and I can work together to figure out a way to fund that.
No, I'm not saying no by any
Okay.
means to this. I'm more the one trying to figure out what
We can
the,
figure out a path.
yes.
Okay, well, I want to carry this question one step farther though. Okay, you say yes, because you work for us and we want you to say yes.
That's how that works. Great. I told us
So
beforehand.
say if you say yes, then, and maybe you didn't have quite enough capacity there to say yes. Okay, what would you cut? You got that in your head about what you would maybe cut so that you could help HR? I'm just using that as one example. So that's where I'm coming from.
I look at where we've got the most amount of funding, to be honest with you, like the simplest shift is actually the DEI position. I mean, to be blunt, the biggest kind of unallocated amount of money we have, like kind of one single item, it's that position we've held vacant for several years.
Well, and we would use that too.
Yeah, well, and I get
We've
that.
already got a
but I meant
plan for that.
if I was in a vacuum, not knowing the other plan for that, that would have been my first reaction would be, okay, well, we've got this position we haven't been able to fill, but for reasons, right? That was my first reaction. Most of the things that we've got in this new budget are tied categorically to things so that there's not an HR line in here. There's a way for us to sort of, I think, look at some indirect funding and capacity building. There's ways for us to look at that. I just want to, it's more technical on the back end.
My question is, what if you said that there really isn't a need fit for the HR, but administrative support that is going to do HR stuff, you said, it's on your end, so why does that not fit?
So if we go through our
It's
our budget,
indirect within the department.
sorry, thank you. It's on our indirect cost. It's not-
So there's indirect countywide, and then within each department, there's a cost allocation structure for their overhead. And that's, if you think about social services as a mini county, it's got many functions and many funds. Their admin layer is allocated to all those funds, and it works the same way in Public Works and in CPED, because there's multiple funds within the department, so there's layers of this stuff, and
It's like looking at a
where the
two-mirror,
HR
it's just-
support is in the department is where that HR piece would fit.
Two mirrors make infinity, Rob. Okay, I know I'm sure this is a bad idea, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Because I feel like, and I know it's not the cleanest structure, but I feel like with IT, we've had at least examples where there's been a HR person embedded in yours, but really they kind of report
Yes.
to Maria.
Yeah.
Even though they're in your shop and
Yeah,
maybe
we
under
have an
your
IT staff.
accounting system or whatever. So is that something that can happen?
Yes.
The key, I'm gonna go back again to two things really quickly. One was, you asked about where we had space, it was all categorical. And Robin explained the indirect, which I know is complicated, but that is the answer for things like office assistants and administrative work. The other place would be that task one you guys heard about for years, that open category. And like I said, we've allocated most of that, but there was some space left over with things like the DI position. That's where I was saying if we can pull something to that, but that's not here or there.
through?
It is, and what we did after talking with you all this year, guys, the request there was to shift that over into, nurse supervisor, which is a way bigger need for us. It's something that we've been looking for years for our communicable disease department. And so that's what that request turned into, is
Is it
that.
filled?
No, because we needed
And
the,
can we change that one back into something, right? We're having several communicable disease buckets right now, and specific buckets towards that. And I rather fund that position with the budget that we have available now than, you know.
so that money was, so when we look at our new funding for this, we were accounting for the fact that that was already sort of in the budget, right? So, we've got our communicable disease funding, like it is, like we've spent it. Like if you look at the bottom line for that number for communicable disease, like we've spent the dollars for that. So there's not room to pull back out for that supervisor position. The thing that I wanted to highlight, this is probably more than we talk about this a little bit, is so I'm a former budget analyst in my past life, so I have a lot of appreciation for trying to figure out, okay, how do you maximize other fund sources beyond the general fund, state or county? For me, what the trick is with FHS is that it has to be tied specifically back to public health very directly. And so one of the things that as we're making decisions about how to move funding, like I said, for the 3 requests you guys are making, 2 of those are pretty straightforward, the fiscal and the BI. We still would want to make sure that if you move forward with the decision, we have to figure out whether it's some kind of MOU or something like, I need to go back to the state to show that that funding is still tied in some way, shape, or form to public health. And same with the HR position ultimately too, we have to figure out that. But the point is, figuring out FPHS money on this end still has to go back to another FPHS function, if that makes sense. So if you decide you don't want to fund, I'm looking up the BI coordinator, it needs to go back in the same, it's go back in the pot of stuff. So if you don't want to do this, the CHN supervisor, which I think is still really key for the department, that's a decision you can make. That money still has to go back to something related to FPHS. So it's a circle. So it's just where do you want to do that? I mean, I think that's kind of the thing. And so I think the request that you're making reasonable if we can get to the point where we just identify like a clear connection in public health services and the asks. That's really
The county, I mean, does it help that the county declared racism a public health crisis?
No, and part of that is because I think the state and the committee anticipated that this was going to be an issue at some point where counties would get into fiscal stress, and this would be the first place to look. So the thing was like they want to connect it back to what is a public health service happening, right? Like, and that's still pretty open. And I think that's why the coordinator position is a good concept. It's just we have to still show the state at the end of the committee, oh, so the money got moved here, that not work, still have to be direct public health tie. That's the key there.
So for the DEI position, what we're contemplating is pulling at least a part of the county DEI position to the public funding. So it's still DEI countywide, which is the foundation of public health.
Key there would be, and again, this is a little bit of weeds, and I apologize for that. We still know something, have some ongoing sort of conversation that shows there's a connection between that position's work, a direct connection between sort of our department and that position's work. Doesn't mean they have to be in the department, but there has to be something to like a deliverable that I can say at the end of the year, okay, we did this kind of work, and public health component here. Absolutely. So I think that's there. It's still flexible, but we have to show that directly. Right. We couldn't pull off something like doing work for public works and turn that back to like have to show at some level there's these connections, direct connections. Which I know you understand.
Of course. Same with the budget analyst. Clearly tracking their time to time because allocation based on timesheets, if the HR person were embedded, as Commissioner Mitzer has suggested, that means they'd be working only with your department. So,
Yeah, that's why, Mr. Edwards, I don't have heartburn about those kind of things. It's just, it's about, I have to have kind of a straight face test.
Right.
And I show that like our department, as the sort of the giver of services,
Absolutely.
is actually being able to do some tasking and work. That's the key there.
we need that to pass audits from either the department or the state.
Yeah, so like I said, that was in the details, but I think at a high level, I think it makes sense, it's something we can do. We just have to make sure that those details are kind of laid out for the state. I can show how that connection, but I think it makes sense to me. We have room for it, and one of the things I'm passionate about is when we make those changes, we are down to $373 remaining on FHS.
Yeah, we can, no problem. How about defibrillator?
It's only 60,000 or something.
I was trying to track all the times you did PHS and I had to stop after a while. I was like, never mind, I can't track all this.
With defibrillator.
Quite a little bit, but,
What
but I-
about,
yeah, go ahead.
what about non-FPHS funding sources? Because we've been talking about
Just
yes, but what about other sources to go into Fund 1500?
Sure, are you asking sort of what are we looking at going forward, or what kind of revenue is?
I mean, the conversation has been FPHS able to cover these things. Yes. What about some of your other
Yeah, so,
revenue sources?
yeah, so the things that we're asking for, I use FPHS as kind of our fund of last resort. So we use our federal funds first, right, to go through what we've got needs. And then I go to what's available from the state, if that makes sense. And then we look at the county as kind of our genuine last resort is, do we need county funds? So we don't have, so we've got some federal fund that's going to support the communicable disease team, that's how it's functioning. There's some federal funding supporting some of the nurse work right there. A significant amount of that. That is what it is. There's there's not a lot of wiggle room there. Those are specifically for CDA, specifically for nurses that are using those funds. I think for a future conversation, I think it's, I've had a good conversation with, I think it's Crystal from Shatters 360, about looking at other federal funds down the line. There's ways for the county to sort of be more proactive about looking for other federal funds. But we kind of use the key, we're looking at funding like, the SAMHSA funding for behavioral health, we have some of that. We've got Medicaid for some of the pieces. We've got communicable disease funding. We've kind of have, those are kind of the main ones we're looking at, and we've allocated those and we're using those going forward. We'll make increases, we have to reflect those in the budget and add those there, but FHS is covering the gaps that we've got outside of federal funding. So that's kind of where we are.
So I would suggest though, for the budget analysts that we're talking about, it wouldn't necessarily need to be 100% foundational public health. They could be spread, just like your own financial people, a little bit housing, a little bit TST, a little bit. Yep, same with the HR person.
Got it. Because I had questions about, are these positions that are embedded? Are they living outside? Are they temporary? Those are the kind of, which it makes sense because we're thinking about where the funding is coming from.
Sure.
So if it's like one-time funding, that's different than whether it's something that's
We're not
ongoing.
talking one time.
Okay, that's what we need to know. Okay. That makes sense.
And it's to support your department needs.
I'm not sad about it. I still just want to know kind of what the plan was for those. So.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started. Yeah.
I'm done. I got it figured out now.
So we could look either at the org chart and you can approve the org chart, which lines up with the request on these sheets that I presented, or if you find it's, I think it might be easier to see the org, the whole organizational look,
No,
and then.
I'm gonna put a plug in before we get going here. We pay him a lot of money to make these decisions and get them right. And I trust him to get them right, so.
I appreciate that.
It's pretty basic, pretty simple.
Okay, Administrative Services is the first one.
to the org chart?
Yes,
Yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up? Okay. Fiscal funding, there's, I don't see anything.
Yep, nope, there's nothing there.
Community wellness. Okay. Environmental health. Okay, next is disease control and prevention. There's nothing on social services, nothing on housing and homeless prevention. I thought there were two on housing.
Yep, it's miscoded, so there's two.
There's two for housing and homeless prevention. Yeah, I was like, I remember there
Yep,
was two.
there's a rent specialist, and then we were boosting someone from a half to a full-time.
Okay.
And where is the
In administrative services, that's where it's in the budget.
that was approved.
So you're saying yes to, it's not the clerk, the way we have a clerk of the BoCC, but rather
It's a
a program manager.
Yeah, that's-
All right. There's
Okay,
public
great.
health.
Great, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, finally get rid of all of this.
Okay.
Now, why can't we do them all like that?
Just because there's no money.
There's some,
I was like, well,
It's pretty simple. Pretty simple, no money.
Okay. So, I believe we're on page 14. Page 13, we approved already, with the change being 550. So
Medic one.
Yep, Medic 1, line 33.
this one was approved by the Medic One board, yeah? Okay, so it's a thumbs up.
All right, so
Where's Medic one?
Page 14. Oh,
emergency services,
Equipment?
yes. So in 20,
Oh, yeah, I couldn't mark any of these because I was in my car listening to this. So I guess I'm all great.
The 3-0,
three,
yes.
yes. Okay, line 34, this is Medic 1. This is for staffing of the 8th unit in 2025 for 1.7 million. Comes up, okay. Line 35, so this is the reallocation of the director's salary to the general fund. This is something that we have as marked as a must-do, that must happen. This is where his time is being billed, so.
We have no choice.
yeah.
Right.
This is one of those one fund bank campaigns.
Three thumbs up. Thank you.
And that's just a
Yep.
That's extra money coming in.
Okay, so then now we're on page 17. This is for operational costs out of the Emergency Management Council Fund, 1140, so 147,000 in the first year and 44,000 in the second year.
This is equipment, right? Like
Yes.
they're gonna buy another trailer or fix up their trailer.
Right, they have it marked here in 24, it's about 12,000 in communications, 7,000 in professional services. This is for stuff to deliver to, trailers, this is $15,000 in trailer modifications, 12,000 in trailer rentals, so they have a list here of equipment.
And they don't.
And this one actually generates
revenue.
income when it goes out and is deployed.
Right, that's what I was just about to say, so thank you. Yeah, it's not shown here, but the trailers generate revenue. So, thumbs up?
Yep.
Yes, yes.
So line 38, we're going into Public Works, and we already had those approvals.
You
So,
skip these, huh?
yeah, so I'm
I already
gonna,
dealt with Abernathy. Changing my vote, but I won't.
So
Still
we-
be outvoted.
so
We've dealt with all
of Public Works we
ones
have in there.
already.
You were thinking more about that? When we went through their sheet that they
And the
gave us
solid
yesterday.
waste too.
Okay,
Oh, the one.
so that takes us all the way.
To page 27.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to look at this, oh no, that's for the, thing about the.
That's the oil thing. that
So
we
there
had.
is the one item about the 4 FTEs for the asset program. Jennifer has sent an explanation of why she needs them all. There's sufficient funding for all of them.
You were convinced, probably?
I'm here's what I'm gonna say about it. I understand why 4 would be beneficial, but I think that since we don't have an asset management program today, if the board were to approve 2 now and it build up a little slower, that would be
And then two later.
good, but she's got enough money to pay for them all.
And part of it was your perception of whatever you say
It
is we
is
had
the
so many
fact that you'd
FTEs.
already said yes to 12 FTEs for Public Works at a time. And you just said yes to a whole lot more than 12 for Public Health.
Yep.
But at that time, you have been and will continue to say no to offices and departments who have presented you with very few requests for essential needs, and you must tell them no. So do you really want to say yes to absolutely everything that the departments are asking for? You just did with Public Health.
But the state's telling us to basically spend that money.
The state is telling us that we have to use the money that way.
Or send it back, and that's double bill.
Well, yes, that's ridiculous.
With foundational,
But that's the,
It
that's
is
the
a little
argument I was
different.
making about Public Works, is it's not like, public health is here.
Right.
The state said, here's a bunch of money and you must spend it on these, and they told us exactly what to do. Public Works is here.
Up
Here's
to
a,
us.
here's a source of money, it's not general fund, but it's for the long-term maintenance of our roads.
Right.
And infrastructure and capital, all that, and that's why I was asking those questions of like, wait a minute, we're always worried about the roads and trying to reduce the shift and everything, but then there was this
Right.
flush of just requests for new FTEs and programs and
Right.
and new, so that's a different set of discretionary decisions, in my opinion,
Yes.
versus the general fund, which we just can't do anything because we don't have any money.
is there any decision points
Yeah.
in the works that we need to review then? That you're not comfortable with the decisions we made yesterday?
I mean, well, I want to hear what Rob has to say. He's,
Thanks. I think that they're great questions, and the proposal before the board right now does in fact phase in the positions, but when we're talking about asset management, we're not just talking about the road system, but roads, bridges, culverts. It's also solid waste. It's every utility that has a huge amount of infrastructure. But I also would liken it to really a continuum. The asset management piece is really on that front end, not only with the current, but the future assets that we need to make sure we know the full life cycle costs on and when we're going to have to be able to pull the trigger on it. And asset management bleeds into some of that pre-analysis that's done about different solutions that goes into the preliminary engineering and then ultimately construction. So in many ways, it is foundational to being able to be proactive and make sure that we are managing those assets the best we can. That's my 2 cents.
Right. So we're currently getting it done without an asset management program. It would be extremely beneficial to have one. The same is true in central services. We're teeing up an asset management program with no new FTEs. But
we funded,
Jennifer's got the funds to pay for it.
and we funded something though related to the central services program.
For a one-time cost for a contract for central services, no new FTEs. We're requesting a new FTE for the number of square feet we have to manage. So if you wanna approve 4, there are the funds available to do it.
Are we talking about your
No, we're
operation or
talking
shop?
about Public
Jennifer's,
Works.
what Jennifer
Jennifer's.
gave you justification
Jennifer
for.
has, yep, she
No, the only
sent me
reason-
emails.
The only reason
Rob has articulated it well.
But no, the only reason I kind of like your original plan of 2 of those 4 now and 2 a little later. Get the program going, up and running, head down the road, and then add a couple more, so we're not adding them all right now.
That is my
That's,
suggestion.
that's where I'm at.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And then do you wanna discuss the Abernathy one?
I'm gonna let it go. I mean,
If you're not, I mean, we can have I wasn't 100% sold on it, right? Like, so if it's something that we wanna have a discussion about, like,
let's move on.
no? Okay,
We're gonna see more of that in about February out on 26th.
on 26.
I can tell you that's but how that works. Been around here a long time, and those new developments are driving something.
Okay, so page 27?
Yes, page 27, community planning.
Okay, not CPED, but community planning. According to you. Sheila.
Right,
That's
right.
correct. Even though.
So they're asking for $150,000 in professional services to help with the comp plan, the comprehensive plan update. This says it's for docket items.
Didn't we already rule on this?
No,
We already said no to this.
Yeah.
I think we said no to all these.
did we say no to
Well,
30?
they had a request in Department 27, which was the 700,000 for our comp plan, plus the 210, that was for the additional items. This is for some of the docket items,
Oh,
that are.
I see. Yeah, this is different. This isn't about the comp plan. This is just a budget for going out to get consultant work, to get to advance docket items.
Right.
And what's the current base budget? I mean, we did budget for this, so this is an add-on to what's already,
I would need to check what that base budget is.
She's gonna look it up.
but
for
I'm
you.
right about that, right?
Yeah.
There's something in there and this is an add.
This would be an additional.
It's not like this is a brand new thing that we've never budgeted.
No, this is to be able to move the docket.
Yeah. I'm
We can't
voting no.
afford it.
We can't afford it. We have no money for it.
I'm good with that. Can't afford it. Good. Lottery one.
So if that, I mean, we probably will need to come back and as we go into the docketing process to really have a conversation about what we can actually accomplish with that decision.
What's the base amount? Do you know, Rob?
I'm
We
getting,
have
What
budgeted
though,
for this in the past.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
We, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was no budget for this, and we added a budgetary, I don't know if it was 50,000 or 75.
Yes.
I'm interpreting this as an additional
Yes,
add to what we already budgeted, which was new a couple of years ago.
right.
Jennifer's pulling.
I'm getting there.
So it's not like this decision puts them at 0. This decision puts them at whatever they were at last year, which was obviously inadequate, but I just want to clarify that it doesn't put them to 0 for this.
Their base was $75,000.
Right.
For docket items.
That sounds right.
That's what we added a few years ago.
That's advertising, that's something different. $75,000 for docket items.
And this is one of those ones where, like I've said before, every applicant that I've ever talked to, so, and again, I don't want to open this can of worms because it's a large conversation. Every applicant I've ever talked to says, charge us for this, we'll pay for it, we'll do it. But then I don't understand the policy, like, I don't want to be willy-nilly about it. You can't just charge people randomly and the next person you don't charge them. Like, so it's never been really clear to me who gets charged and when they get charged and why they get charged. But I think there's a possibility of developing a policy that would allow some of this work to be funded by the applicant.
Yeah, that would be something to review, but as I understand it, really in terms of the docketed items, it's less about a permit generated or application generated item. This is more on the planning side, therefore it falls into that non-recoverable bucket. and will boil down to sort of internal staff capacity, as well as we all know we talked about sort of asphalt, et cetera, earlier, just the cost of being able to secure those professional services has continued to escalate as well.
Okay, so line, if we move on? Yep. Okay, line 57 here is also for community planning. This is for the hazard mitigation plan. They're asking for $75,000 to update the plan. Robin, is this a must-do, this plan update, the flood hazard?
I did not consider this a must-do.
No. I wrote yes, under stormwater.
Yeah, I don't know why we couldn't pay for it out of the stormwater
Well,
fund.
it says general fund right
It
now.
does say
It
general
does.
fund.
But my note to myself was, oh, there must have been some discussion of, or at least I thought of it, or somebody mentioned it, that it might be able to come out of stormwater.
Yeah, it's from the flood insurance program.
Well, if it's under stormwater, I'm willing to consider it. If not, if it's from general fund, it's a no for me.
All right.
It could compromise our ability to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, which would impact individuals and their insurance rates as they do projects or, try to pull permits. So it's something just to be aware of.
That is true, but lean on the stormwater fund.
Yes.
I think we should explore that first, yeah.
So the last item on there is for IT, and this was pulled by Sherry because this is actually already included in the rates, so it doesn't need to have a separate line here.
Okay.
Almost there, page 28 to 29. Line 59, this is public.
did this one, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday with, Public Works.
okay, so then those are 59 through 61, so we're on 62. This is public health through the opioid settlement fund. This is a placeholder for what's coming from
Where are we now?
62,
62.
62.
Oh,
On page
jumped
28.
way ahead.
those are all related, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already did them.
And there's 3 thumbs up.
And then 63.
63.
Yeah.
What? This is through PHSS fund, public health and social services, 1,500. They're asking for $750,000 for developmental disabilities request for community project grants. This is through, BHSO, is that correct?
Is this in part of David's presentation? Is it?
This is something that they had asked for additional, that's community grants, and this is the funding that they get from property tax for developmental disability, and this is what they want to spend some of their money on.
And so was Corinne able to segregate the 1,500 to show how much is only for BD services? We still haven't seen that.
I'd have to look through because I know I got information when the request to increase the millage came through to see if they had the availability for it. So I have something for her related to this, but I don't know if it's the whole amount that's related to,
So their share of the property tax is of course going up because assessed value increased, but not by much.
some of this is fund balance.
Some of this is what?
Some of this is their fund balance from,
Balance.
related to property tax. I do have that from Corinne, but I'd have to dig through my emails to find it.
Okay, so I would recommend you say yes to this as long as we can verify that there's funds available specifically for this purpose.
Are you
No
saying,
general fund.
are you saying yes to 59?
I'm saying yes to 63. Are we
To
talking about
63?
63?
Now we're on line
On the
63.
next page.
No, okay.
Right, and that's providing the budget or the authorization to be able to move forward, which also includes a portion of it being from the Mason County millage as well.
Right.
So it's not just Thurston County property tax.
Right, but they're showing no revenue.
Hmm.
59 through 61, we made a decision on that one yesterday,
Gotcha.
that's why. 59,
Oh,
we
yeah,
made a
yeah,
decision on that one. So.
It definitely should reflect revenue, but I don't have an answer for that.
That's what I'm saying, as long as we can verify there's money for this purpose, then just
I
say
think
yes.
this was what Mark was talking about.
This
to-
is
Yes.
something that Mark was talking about.
They
yes.
came to you in August on this.
So I've got 2 thumbs up, can I get a third? Yep, great. Yahoo! It's 4:00.
It's 4 o'clock. We have follow-up information to do, and then the work through reductions. I would suggest we save that for,
Tomorrow, yeah, and then revisit the things that we said we'd come back to. We're having a working lunch tomorrow. I'm sorry, what?
Will we get through so we're gonna get to the point of talking about how to approach
The reductions,
Yeah.
yes, that's tomorrow.
okay. Yep. And you and I have a meeting and I'll share an
Yes, we
idea.
do. All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Any reason we can't leave this stuff here?
I think
Here in the
that
morning.
there